Hello, my name is Dan Tinianow. I'm a member of the faculty at the University of Arizona Global Campus. I'm also part of the Academic Enhancement Center. So we're sort of tasked with boosting student engagement, improving the student experience. And one of the things that I do in my role at the UAGC is I work with our instructors to present and help them find new ways to create content, typically using technology, typically using tools that are maybe less well known. And if you've seen me at COLTT in previous years, I've often presented on various aspects of this. And today I'm going to be presenting on using virtual reality as a tool to create content. So let's get into that. Let's talk a little bit about virtual reality before we get into how it can be used to create content for the classroom. Now, in my opinion, virtual reality, the basic premise has been something that's been in human beings' dreams for thousands of years. I think one of the reasons that we dream of creating artificial worlds and fantasy environments is because of the dreams we have in the nighttime. These dreams that put us in sometimes very realistic but very fantastic settings. For millennia, human beings have written stories and created theater that basically tries to put us into situations that don't exist. More recently, visual arts, painting, and then photography, and then stereoscopic photography, and motion pictures, and 3D pictures, 3D movies. All of these things were little steps towards making the images and the stories we create more immersive and more real. Now, virtual reality is probably, as you're thinking of the technology right now, is something that began to emerge in the 1980s, but only recently was a commercially viable technology that began to be adopted in a widespread way. This is mostly due to a company called Oculus, which launched some early standalone VR products. The earlier ones were not standalone. They were massive headsets that were tethered to systems and often hung from the ceiling with counterweights and large manipulator arms like you might see in a nuclear plant. So Oculus took these ideas and made it into a self-contained system. And there are other fairly compact VR systems that are tethered systems. In other words, the headset and the gloves or the manipulators, the devices you use to interact with the virtual reality are fairly compact, but you're still required to be connected either wirelessly or by a wire to a computer to run all of that. But Oculus was the one who entered the market with a standalone, by now low-power device called the Oculus Go. This was followed by the Oculus Quest, which was followed a little less than a year ago by the Oculus Quest 2, which is the primary standalone VR device that's available today, and the one that I'll be focusing on in this presentation. Now, VR is part of a larger category of technology called XR, which the X, some people say it stands for extended reality, but it's really just kind of X is the unknown. It's an umbrella for AR, for MR, mixed reality, for VR, virtual reality, and different ways of technology layering computer content or text information over real information, or creating completely synthetic three-dimensional environments that you can move through and interact with, which is more what VR is. So XR is a term you'll hear that it's an umbrella term. VR is one of the technologies under it, but VR, virtual reality, is what we'll be talking about today. And largely we'll be talking about the Oculus Quest 2. Now, briefly, before we get into this content, I'd like to point out that the assumption here in this presentation is that you have a virtual reality headset, even if you haven't bought one yet, even if you're thinking about getting one, but there's no assumption here that your students have access to VR. You may be in a situation where you have a VR lab, or you may be in a very rare situation still at this point where a lot of the students you teach just happen to have VR headsets. But we're not assuming any of that. We're only assuming that you have a VR headset and you'd like to learn how to use it to create content. What you need, of course, is that VR headset. I'm suggesting the Oculus Quest 2. You may still be able to find an Oculus Quest, or even an Oculus Go will let you do some of this. Those are all by now being sold third party as used devices. You might still be able to find here and there a new in-package Oculus Quest, but it's pretty easy now to get an Oculus Quest 2, and they start at $300 for the lower. There's only two models, and the lower storage capacity, the 64 gigabyte storage capacity, that's $299. The larger 256 gigabyte is $399. But even the smaller storage capacity will work for this. You do also need a Facebook account. And I know that some educators have a problem with this. By default, Oculus Quest is set up to require a Facebook account. I believe that you can buy a special version of the Oculus Quest that does not require the Facebook account, but it is priced quite a bit higher. So in this case, we can view it, I guess, as a necessary evil, with apologies to Facebook, for those of you who feel this is less desirable. You can set up, if you have a Facebook account that you use and you want to keep it separate, you could set up a separate account just to use with your Oculus Quest 2 headset. You'll also need, for the demo that we're going to be going through shortly, a copy of the free Anne Frank House VR app that you can get in the Oculus Quest store. So these three things are what you need. The only one that has an expense is the Oculus Quest. And if you have a friend who has an Oculus Quest and is willing to let you use it, you can do everything that we'll be talking about here with a borrowed Oculus Quest and their permission, of course. But I do encourage you to explore other apps, because there are a lot of apps in the Oculus Quest App Store that can be used for educational purposes. Now, let's talk a little bit more specifically about what you need to do. There are a couple of main ways that you can capture your experiences in VR to a video file. The easiest one, the most straightforward one, is to stream to Facebook. Now, when I do this, I go in the settings for this, and I make sure that the stream is not going out live. It's just viewable by myself. And then after I'm done streaming, I can go into Facebook, I can play it back, and I can capture that video the way that you would bring a file from your Facebook of any video that you had in your account to your computer. You do have the option of recording video to the camera roll in your VR headset. This will give you a better quality video, but there's a couple extra steps involved in getting out the video from your headset to a computer. Namely, specifically what you need to do is you need to physically connect with a cable. It doesn't come with the Oculus Quest. The cable, I think if you buy their cable, it's about $70. It's pricey, but any high quality USB-C cable will work. And then you can bring that file into your computer and edit it and share it. It's really very straightforward, and it won't take very long to figure out how to do it. Now I'd like to take just a few minutes to show you a couple videos. First, a video of kind of real-time interaction, real-time movement through the Anne Frank House app. I should say through the Anne Frank House app. I did not go there. I did not have the budget to go there and shoot this, which is one of the reasons why VR is great for making this kind of content. And then I'll link, because of the time limitations here, I will link a document that you can access where you can see a finished video that was made using the Anne Frank app to show you kind of what the final results might look like. But now let's just take a look at more at how the VR app works to give you a sense of how you could use it to create content.
Countless friends and acquaintances are on their way to a horrible destination. Night after night, the green or gray military vehicles drive by, ring every bell. Our hiding place has now become a true hiding place. Mr. Kugler, you see, thought...
Welcome to Amsterdam, the capital city of the Netherlands. As you wander the picturesque streets, and notice the many canal boats throughout the city, you may pass Amsterdam's most famous building. Here it is now. Behind this green door, you will find one of the most well-known residences of the 20th century, the Anne Frank house. Here Anne Frank and her family, along with the Van Pels family, hid from the Nazis, while Anne wrote her diary, a diary that would one day be read by millions. But if you want to go in, you can't enter here. Instead, you need to go in the entrance up ahead, and around the corner. This unassuming landing hides a secret. Behind the hinged bookcase, a door. A door that leads to the annex where the Frank and Van Pels families lived. This is the room that Anne's parents, Otto and Edith Frank, shared with Anne's older sister, Margot. And here is Anne's room, which she shared with Fritz Pfeffer, a dentist, who hid along with the two families. Notice the many pictures of movie stars that Anne decorated her room with. This is the bathroom that the 8 residents of the annex shared. Let's climb the steep staircase to the upper level of the annex. The largest room served as a living and dining room, and Mr. and Mrs. Van Pels's bedroom as well. Through this door, we find Peter Van Pels's small room, as well as a staircase to the attic. Although the attic wasn't really a living space, and came up here frequently because, she wrote, it was the only place she could enjoy some fresh air. Now let's retrace our steps and head back down to the main level. If this quick tour of the M. Frank house didn't quite let you understand how the annex was laid out, this model might help you better see where the rooms were, relative one to the other.
I hope you found that interesting. If you've used VR, you probably have already seen just how interesting it can be and how much fun it can be to use VR. If you've never had the chance to use it, if you're a kind of a technology nerd the way I am, then you may want to give it a try anyway. If you ever have the chance, if you have a friend or a colleague who has a VR headset and you have the opportunity to give it a try, I highly recommend it to see if it's something you want to get more involved in. Now, given the short time frame for this, we're really only scratching the surface. I went through the one example of the one app that you can use to create content. There are dozens of other apps that have potential for education, and there are, of course, limitless games to play in VR. But in the next frame, I'll give you information about how to access a resource that goes through this in more detail and reviews some of those other apps. So if you'd like more detailed information with more examples of different kinds of output quality and a deeper history of VR and more information about the Oculus Quest, and especially some reviews, some short reviews of some of the apps that you might find have potential, depending on whether you teach science or history or what your field of instruction is, please access this resource at tinyurl.com/COLTT21VR. tinyurl.com/COLTT21VR. You can access this Spark page that I put together that goes through in much greater detail and has more resources. And if you have any questions and would like to follow up with me, please feel free to email me at the address you see, dan.tinianow@uagc.edu. I won't take the time to spell it, but hopefully you've had time to copy it down. You can probably reach me also through the COLTT webpage. Hopefully they'll have my email address up there. So I want to close by just thanking you for your time and attention. I hope you found this useful. I know that this is a very limited context that I presented in because I would like to have more time to walk you through all of it. But the Spark page that I've linked to here, I think will provide a lot more context and a lot more information to help you get started. So thank you again, and enjoy the rest of COLTT.